Welcome to Overthinking episode 16, where we take fun, interesting ideas, overanalyze them, and run them to their logical conclusions. All in the name of exploration, education, most importantly, entertainment.
I'm Luke.
I'm Devin.
And we don't claim to be experts in any of the topics discussed here today. We simply find those ideas interesting as we hash them out in real time. Get ready to join us on this exciting, fun, and crazy ride to nowhere.
This week, Luke and I are enjoying a lovely dinner for two on the top of the Eiffel Tower in Cairo, Egypt, and you are eavesdropping on a private conversation.
How dare you?
Right?
Stop. This has nothing to do with you. This is
our
our
show.
time. Yeah, our show, our time. We're on an Eiffel Tower in Egypt. I think it's Cairo.
I thought I said Cairo. What did I say?
Cairo? I don't know, dude.
I know it's Cairo.
Yeah.
So,
I don't know. So we're on
the
an
capital of Egypt.
Did we steal the Eiffel Tower and put it in Egypt?
No, it's always been there. That's where it is. I think you're confused because the pyramids are in Paris. And
Oh, right. Sorry. Yeah. No, thanks.
Yeah.
See, that's why I
they're,
mean
they're
Devin.
both pointy things.
Yeah, the pointy thing. Yeah. The pointy thing is in France. The other taller pointy thing is in Egypt. Got it.
Yeah.
Got it. Thank you. Yeah. See, that's why you need someone like Devin to help remind you when your brain falters.
Correct.
And so, Devin, that was a strange moment. For a second, I actually thought the Eiffel Tower was in Egypt, and I was like,
It is.
But I was like, I was about to lose my mind. I was like on the verge of just pure madness. Anyway, Devin, what are you drinking?
Okay, so I told you we're having a lovely dinner for two.
Yes.
I actually have a dessert that I'm going to be eating because I told Luke I was going to eat it. He got mad. And I'm just having milk with it.
Oh, milk and brownies. I made brownies the other day. They were delicious. I got many compliments.
Probably better than milk. And store.
Yeah. I made some mocha frosting to put on it. Anyway, dude, you ready for this? What?
What are you drinking?
Yeah, thank you, Devin. Thank you for asking. Totally unprompted. Just out of the kindness of your heart. I'm drinking this. I don't know what it is.
Oh wow.
I tasted it this morning and I still don't know what it is.
It's a oolong cube.
A what?
It's soup broth.
No, it's. Well, I don't actually. On first taste, it tastes a little like coffee. But then you taste leaves, and you taste black tea. And
So it's black tea.
But it tastes like coffee. And that's why. So I'm gonna figure this out after the show. My dad saw me pouring it. He's like, oh wait, what are you doing? I'm like, I'm drinking this. Do not tell me what it is. Do not tell me what it is. I still don't know what it is. I'm gonna find out after the show what it is.
Nice. It's
I just hope
probably
it
not
has
something
to.
you're supposed to drink.
I don't like it. It's not good.
Cool.
It's really just
All right.
okay. Yeah. Anyways, dude.
Yeah.
Okay.
Next segment.
Next segment. That's right.
That was a great segue.
It's a great segue. I mean, I'm just the greatest at segue. Call me Paul Blart because I'm great on segues. We gotta warm up our brains. Devin is just cringing in shame. He's resisting the urge to kill me. We gotta warm up our brains. Obviously, our brains are very stupid right now. We're the little dums. We gotta warm up our brains. We gotta find all of our knowledge, and we gotta climb down that ladder, go into the basement, climb down that trap door, then open that locked chest with a secret key that we wear around our neck constantly. Open it up, and find our secrets uncovered. Devin, you have anything for us today?
Sure, why not? I had this this experiment I've done over the last week that it all stemmed from a conversation that you and I had where I talked about the benefits of like cold showers, and you made this statement of it might increase the quantity of life, but I care more about the quality of life. And so that was like, And at that point, I was already like ending my showers with cold showers. But the whole
Yeah.
shower's not cold, right? And I am still not doing a full cold shower, mind you. But it got me thinking. Well, based on my experience so far, I think that it actually increases quality of life in a really interesting way. But I just wanted to try it out. So, um, the experiment I've been doing is I'm still not doing full cold showers, but I'm starting with like a cool shower, like not
Mm-hmm.
as warm as I normally would. And I am like ending the shower with a full cold shower for roughly 3 minutes. And
Okay.
one day it started that I just when I turned the shower cold, because I listen to music while I'm in the shower.
Mm-hmm.
The Eye of the Tiger came on, which is a song I'm
Mm-hmm.
not a huge fan of anymore, but I used to love. And I decided I was just gonna stay in the shower until the song ended.
Mm-hmm.
That's a long song.
Yep.
So that's the premise. I just wanted to share some of my experiences.
Okay.
Okay. So this is interesting because I've done the longer cold showers with cool showers and with hot showers because sometimes I forget that I'm supposed to have a cool shower. Okay.
Yeah.
And so some of my findings. One is that day that I listened to The Eye of the Tiger, the cold shower was not bad at all. Like my body acclimated to it very quickly, and it was actually fairly comfortable, and there was no issue whatsoever. And when I got out of the shower, I wasn't cold,
Yeah.
and I felt really good. Just like physically, just felt really good. Kind of like, well, kind of. I guess I felt pretty much the same way that you do, like after, like just like dipping your head in a bucket of ice water for a second. Just
Yeah.
the way it wakes you up and I basically felt that way right afterwards. But I never felt cold. I never felt uncomfortable. It was fine. The most interesting thing, is when I start with cool showers,
Mm-hmm.
it's harder to go to a cold shower. Like if I start with a warm shower and then I make it cold at the end, like it takes maybe 20 seconds for my body to adjust and then I'm fine. And when I start with a
Oh,
cool shower, it probably still takes 20 seconds, but those 20 seconds are way less comfortable,
that's so
which is like the
fascinating.
exact opposite of what I would have
Yeah.
expected, right? So that's my secrets uncovered. It's just that experience. I don't know what the secret is, but
I guess maybe. I mean, what I'm trying to think about the processes your brain is going through according to the stimulus. All words that make me sound way smarter than I actually am. But I'm thinking like maybe because when you're in the cool, like when you're taking a cool shower, your brain you kind of give yourself the excuse that you're already doing a cold shower. So when you switch it to cold, you're like, this is unnecessary. I'm already taking a colder shower than I'm used to. Whereas when you have a hot shower and you turn to cold, it's a way of like relieving, especially when it's warm outside. It kind of feels good because you're like, oh, I'm relieving myself because it's too hot, and your body feels like it's cooling down. It feels like a good thing.
it feels like it's refreshing rather
Exactly.
than just getting
Yeah.
into a worse
And it
state.
snaps you a little bit awake, so that way
Hmm.
you all of a sudden have more energy, and your brain sees that as a positive reward.
Yeah.
That's fascinating. I never would have ever thought
So
about.
my conclusion, just based on my experience over the last week, is I'm gonna plan on keeping like warm showers and going cold for several minutes at the end of the shower.
Mm-hmm.
Before it was less than a minute.
Right.
Now I'm gonna like stretch it and be like 3 minutes, 4 minutes.
Yeah,
'Cause
it's supposed to be good for your skin anyway, because when it's hot water, like it can help exfoliate your pores.
supposed to be good for like everything.
Well, everything, yeah. But like that's why like when you shave, you want to have
And
your
if
face
you're
be
curious
warm.
why it's supposed to be good for everything, go back to our Wim Hof episode.
That's
which was
right.
One of our episodes, probably episode 2 or something silly.
Yeah, it was a soon episode. It was an early episode. It was an early episode. Yeah, but like when you shave, you're supposed to like have your hot water first, open up your pores, and then after you shave, you cold water and help close up your pores, so you get less gunk in them. That's cool, awesome. My secrets uncovered is very simple and short, and I want to address Devin as Doctor Minister Devin Tracy. We're in the presence of greatness.
Yeah.
So the doctors it's not it's not after your death, but it's like it's prelated. A word that we made up when we couldn't figure out the reason for we couldn't figure out the opposite of belated. So it's a prelated doctorate that I am bestowing upon you.
Interesting. Okay.
So it's Dr. Minister Devin Tracy because you're
Okay.
recently ordained. Congrats.
So actually, the reason I said doctor is something that I will never use, and I'm actually kind of annoyed that it's even part of the process. But I have an honorary doctorate in divinity now.
That's right.
Yeah. So I got ordained. I got ordained for my cousin's gonna have a wedding next month, and she asked me if I could officiate it. So I got ordained for her, and the process I went through, I am now an ordained minister. I have an honorary doctorate in divinity. I have I have a certificate that allows me to do like both marriage and relationship and like personal counseling, and like just all these things that like a pastor at a church would have to do. And I'm like,
yeah,
I paid some money online though. Yep. So now you have to refer to me as doctor.
Yep. So Dr. Tracy, Dr. Minister Tracy, the most esteemed Dr. Minister Devin Tracy. I'm trying to think of more words I can add onto there.
You missed your excellency.
Oh yeah, your excellency, reverend, honored.
I'm not a
Minister.
reverend.
That's right, you're not a reverend. Okay, fine.
So that's
I love how I call you your excellency and you don't care. I call you reverend. You're like, I don't actually have that.
No, so the thing that I went through, I got to choose the title I wanted, and reverend was an option.
Yeah.
Minister was an option. Wedding official was an option, and pastor was an option. And there was another one, and I don't remember what the other one was.
Wedding official.
Yeah. But I did not want reverend. Chaplain I think was the fifth.
Oh, okay.
I didn't want chaplain. So I'm not a reverend. So you can't call me reverend because I had the option and I denied it. I turned it down.
Why not? Why not reverend?
Because so actually my balance was trying to figure out first off, like if I ever do anything in ministry, it's got to be for a non-denominational church.
Yeah.
Right? So I was trying to think, will this have the potential of being beneficial for me? And so any titles that are for like particular denominations that I'm not a part of are not helpful to me.
Reverend is a denominational title?
Yeah, reverend is not a non-denominational title.
Really?
Yeah. Huh. So it's like deacon is not a non-denominational title either. And so
how does one know what who decides that?
So I don't know what denominations have reverends, deacons, and chaplains. I have no idea. I know that Baptists have deacons. That's the only thing I know. And I know that deacon is actually a term that's directly in Scripture. But if you are in a non-denominational church as a leader of the church, you are a pastor. It's like it. That's like the title.
Interesting.
Of denominational leaders. And so then I all the ones that like I have this connotation that they're for a specific denomination, I like excluded. And so then I also looked at it though and I was like, but a pastor is something that I am not. So I don't want to be called Pastor Devin because I'm not a pastor. I don't work with a church.
Right.
And so I cut that one out. And then it's between minister and like wedding official. And I was like, wedding official is a title that will not be useful
after this wedding, unless you do another one.
Well, like, yeah, but like if I ever actually do want to go into ministry, the title doesn't help.
Yeah.
So then I was like, all right, I'll go with minister. It seems like it's pretty neutral, but not so neutral that it's not helpful. So that's why I picked the title I picked, because it's also just like it wouldn't have mattered anyway.
I do have a question though about the process and you with the process. Did you when you found out that they wanted you to officiate, did you Google officiate license? No,
they had already done the research.
They had already done the research. Okay, because I want to know whether you clicked on an ad or not.
I did not click on an ad.
That's always.
I didn't do the research. They did.
All right.
And actually, they didn't really do research. They knew somebody who got officiated already, and they asked him for how he did it. And he sent me that information.
Got it.
He probably clicked on an ad.
Yeah, probably. When it comes to people in marketing, I always wonder, I'm like, when you Google something, did you click on the ad or did you scroll past the ads automatically? Or did you look at the ads? You do? Yeah. If they're
almost
good.
Exclusive. Almost exclusively, I click on the ads.
Because you want to see what they're system is?
Oh no, because like in general, like, um, well, first off, you have to actually scroll to get past ads generally on Google.
Yes.
Right? So just the way Google's designed it wants you to click on ads. But there's also just this sentiment in my mind that's like, if you are able and willing to pay for the right to be top ranked on Google, you probably have something worth looking at. Because like it's probably making you money, like, and so that means that there's a profitability here that is profitability is proof of concept.
Mm-hmm.
So as a general rule, I typically believe that anyone who's running ads is probably a better source than just SEO.
Yeah.
Which might be wrong. It's definitely not something that is an effective umbrella statement because it's probably right and wrong depending on time.
Yeah, exactly.
But as a general rule, it just feels more true to me.
It's very interesting. Thank you. But that's enough of our secrets uncovered. Well, mostly Devin's secrets uncovered.
I like that your secrets uncovered was something about me.
I wrote down.
Have a secrets uncovered. Devin did a thing.
Yes. As soon as you messaged me that, or you call whatever medium we're talking.
Yeah.
I wrote it. I went to my notes and I wrote down Dr. Minister Devin Tracy, and I just hoped I'd remember what that meant.
Okay.
And it's funny because I didn't remember why the doctor was there until you reminded me. But anyway, That's enough of warming up our brain. I think we're pretty warmed up. I finished my mystery drink, which I'm now pretty sure is tea. I'm not wholly convinced, but I'm like 85% sure that it's tea.
It's not good tea.
It's not. There's like some weird milk in it because we don't use milk. It's probably like some maybe almond milk or something like that in it, which almond milk makes everything taste worse.
Except almonds.
I love dipping my almonds in almond milk every morning. That's my favorite snack.
It's like cereal.
It's like Oreos. That's my version of Oreos. Yeah. Or yes, cereal. Is that feels like cannibalistic? I don't know. That feels weird. Dipping almond, like eating cereal.
Well,
almonds and cereal
it's like when
in
you make
almond
soup.
milk.
It's like when you make soup and you use the meat to make the broth.
Right. And you cook like chicken and chicken broth.
Right.
True.
Same time.
Yep. Devin, who do you want to go first?
I think we should play rock paper scissors.
Okay. Again,
We'll do
Devin is the master of audio podcasts today. He eats a brownie and then he plays rock, paper, scissors. Wait, go on what? It's 1, 2, 3, go.
Okay.
Are you ready?
1, 2, 3, go.
Oh.
We both got scissors.
Yep, we did.
1, 2, 3, go.
Ah!
Okay.
I am the master. Wait, no, that means I go first?
I think so. Luke is going first. It is official. It is now canon.
I mean, I'm happy I won, but at the same time, I feel like I lost. By the way, there's a manual on rock, paper, scissors that my brother once read because he was so bored at a party because he's the most antisocial out of all of us. And I'll never forget that, and I want to memorize it and then win rock, paper, scissors every single time. That's my goal in life.
You started watching The Mentalist, right?
Yeah. And
so
he does,
he
does that, yeah.
Yeah.
He's like, I always win. And it's true. You can always win rock, paper, scissors. There's so much science behind it. It's fascinating. But anyway, I want to talk today about something I've been thinking a lot about. And it's the notion.
This is dangerous.
And the overarching umbrella of this topic is the idea of the greater good. So, and what was I watching? Oh, I was watching a show last night even, which made me even more excited to talk about this. Because they're like, "Oh, no, I have to save you. I won't let you die." I'm like, "You're going to all die unless you let that person die and then save the city." But this is often exemplified in the idea of like, if you kill this one person, everyone will live.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And I mean, this happens a lot in superhero movies. It happened in Star Wars, The Last Jedi, where for some reason she rammed her spaceship into his spaceship, and somehow that made both of them live, which is the dumbest thing I've ever seen in cinema. But I wanted to first get your opinion on that notion, and then go on from there. like if you had a choice, like the choice, and this is I forget what we said when it came to the railroad, trolley problem.
Mm-hmm.
But starting with the notion of kill this one person and everyone else lives.
So it's like General Spock's dying words.
Mm-hmm.
The needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few, or the one.
Yeah.
Right? And so Spock is a character who's depicted as perfectly logical.
Mm-hmm.
And so you're supposed to take it on face value that that's a logical statement.
Mm-hmm.
There's actually like no logical structure behind that belief system at all. It is a belief system. And it's also fundamentally a socialist belief system. Mm-hmm. Just to point that out, like that's what it is. So it's not pure logic. It's actually socialist belief that the needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few. And that's what this question really is the one individual more intrinsically valuable than the group, or is the group so much more intrinsically valuable than the one that it's worth sacrificing the one for the group?
Right.
I honestly don't think there's a true way to answer that question. There's no umbrella answer that works. Mm-hmm. Let's say that much. So let's say if you break it down to like 1v5, right? Mm-hmm. Well, that one person could actually be intrinsically more valuable than the group of 5, depending on who they are.
Right.
If those 5 people are all like, actually, let's not even like say that they're malice in any way. Let's say that those 5 people are all like homeless and living off of food stamps and not being productive to society, but actually leeching off society. Right. And that one person is the person in our society who is most likely to discover the cure for cancer. Mm-hmm. That person is more valuable than that group in all likelihood.
To society.
Right.
Yeah.
So the greater good for the way that, especially the secular version of the greater good, would say that you actually make sure that one person lives, even if you have to kill those 5. Mm-hmm. And so that's just one extreme example. It's like you can't actually say that one person is more or less valuable than a group of people, especially from a socialist perspective. Or not a socialist, I'm sorry, especially from a secular perspective.
Yeah.
So that's kind of my stances.
Okay. Because I wanted to get that first baseline.
Depends.
I have some tangents. And by the way, this is going to go on some tangents because there's other things I want to talk about that fit in under this umbrella.
And because we're talking to Luke Maxwell.
And we're talking to Luke Maxwell. Luke the D Maxwell. So that's and for me, I really hate, and I think this is most exemplified. I think the reason why this question in particular bothers me is because it's so over exemplified in media, or especially cinema today, with the superhero, let's say, having to choose between Superman having to choose between Lois Lane and entire Metropolis or something like that, right? And that's supposed to be the conflicting point. And the funny thing is, I think any human would actually choose the person they're emotionally connected with. I don't think that's even a question.
Right, I agree.
And so, which is hilarious to me, because I think we all know that we should say, if we could save one thing, the world would, if you took a vote of the entire world, everyone would vote for you saving the city. Like, you don't get a close to unanimous vote, right? For you saving the city over the one person, right?
Well, the one person would definitely vote that you saved them.
Exactly, right.
Well, that's not even true, right?
That's not even true. Yeah, that's not even true.
Some people would be like, no, don't save me.
Yeah, and we see that all the time, is people being saved against the world. Like, no, stop, don't save me. Save, do your thing and be the superhero, right? That's why it bothers me. Because, you'd be the only one you're defying. Basically, you're going against what every other human being wants, simply because you're being selfish and you don't want someone that you have an emotional connection to die.
Well, I mean, the other thing too, just in general, not always, but in general, most of the time, that superhero trope ends with the superhero saving both anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's the most annoying part. You put them in an impossible situation for the tension of an impossible situation, and didn't let us see how they handled an impossible situation.
Yep.
We learned nothing about the hero.
Yep. Yeah, it's frustrating. Yeah, because moral, and that's why it's funny.
That's
enough.
why I really like the Dark Knight trilogy. That's like they do that impossible situation,
and then they
where
kill
it's 1 versus 1.
Yeah.
But like, first off, you see what Batman would have chosen.
Right.
He was tricked, so he loses.
Mm-hmm.
And the person dies.
Yeah.
And I said it with no spoilers. Haha.
You actually did. I mean, come on. It's like 2000. What did Dark Knight came in 2005, I think.
Best superhero trilogy of all time.
Yeah, I mean, of course.
So far.
I think it was 2008. 2008. It's 12 years old. The statute of limitations on spoilers has gone, especially for a movie that's well regarded like The Dark Knight. You know, if it's a little indie movie, then I'm like, yeah, sure, don't spoil it for me because I might watch it if it's good. But
I'm thinking about all 12 of our fans, Luke.
That's true.
Got all 12. I don't know why they're still here.
I don't know either. I literally just don't know. Like, go away. We're having a private conversation on the Eiffel Tower in Egypt.
Our meal.
Yes. Which is funny because I do not have a meal. I could have actually embraced the bit and actually had a meal.
I had a dessert.
That's fine. I'm one of those.
You had a tea.
That's true. I did have tea. I'm one of those people. You go to have a meal with them, and they're like, "Oh, I'll just have a tea." I'm like, we're supposed to be eating together, or the people like I've just be like, "Oh, you want to go grab a drink?" Yeah, sure. You go, and they're like, "Oh no, I'm not gonna have a drink." I'm like, "But I already ordered. You just made me order."
There's also the flip of that too. Like, you want to go grab coffee? Sure. And then they order a meal, and you're like,
"Yeah,
we said coffee.
Yeah,
I don't have time for a meal."
Exactly, and I want to pay for a meal here.
Right.
Yeah, it's like no. If you make, and that's the funny thing is like I think that is one of the reasons why I love scheduling things. Like I was planning. Okay, this is the real story, right? I'm having a little tangent here, and that's okay because I don't care what anyone else thinks.
Show.
It's my show. I was setting up.
Aha! Drink 2.
Nice. I was setting up a. I don't know why that was just so funny. Just my brain was just like.
I thought it was funny.
That was yeah.
For those of you who aren't watching the video, I finished my milk and I had a hidden drink that I haven't announced what it is yet.
You haven't.
Yeah,
but
I don't know what it is.
Ryle's in the middle. You don't know what it is. Mm-hmm. What kind of idiot doesn't know what drink he has? Like, come on, Devin. You have to be so low in intelligence to not know what you're. Oh, wait.
You're right, you do. And what I'm drinking is tropical vitamin water, and what you're drinking is
a mystery. Darn it. Played myself again.
On purpose. But you know, it was
yes. But I was setting up time to meet with a friend, and I was like, oh yeah, this time, cool, yeah, this here, boom, awesome. And I created a calendar. I scheduled it in my calendar, and I started to type in her email address to send her an invite. And I went, no, normal people don't like this. That was not worth the payoff. Devin, look what you did to me.
I didn't do nothing.
Yeah, you did.
I'm just here, man. This is your show.
But also, so talking more about morality. Because I think out of all the people I know, I think you probably have one of the strongest senses of morality.
Ooh,
I would say. I don't get into deep conversations about morality with a lot of people, so I don't know.
You don't? I thought that was like what everybody did. I thought that was just like common. Am I weird?
Yes, you are.
You don't ask people the first time you meet them who they'd kill?
Hi, I'm Luke. Would you kill the love of your life to save a city of people?
No. It's nice to meet you. And actually, I'd probably kill the city of people. But question for you: you're the love of your life or your parents? That's how we meet people, isn't it?
Oh, no wonder I'm your only friend. Which is ironic coming from me, because I'm pretty sure you would consider more people friends than I would.
I don't know. It's an interesting question.
I think I have I use the word friends very strictly. But I also, the funny thing is too, on a lesser level, this made me laugh just thinking about this, is that we do the same thing when it comes to lying to make people feel better.
We as in you and me, or people in general?
Well, people in general.
Okay.
Talking about the greater good, and that's when I went to like how far is too far with lying. These are all subtexts. what I really want to get into, when it comes to morality, and it comes especially to power and having the power to choose, is the question: what's humans with superpowers abuse it?
Yes.
And what percentage do you think of superheroes would abuse their power?
100%.
Really?
Without exception. Now, the question is, how do they abuse the power? Yes, they would abuse the power.
Maliciously.
I don't know. That's a better question.
Thank you. Yes.
So I follow the general rule. I honestly believe that most people are. I mean, look at my religious views have scripture that backs this, and from a secular perspective, look at children. Look at 4-year-olds. Like a group of 4-year-olds.
Yeah.
And like they, without a thought to it, like intentionally do things that hurt each other.
Yeah.
Right. I honestly believe that people are inherently malicious. And there's this.
Oh, okay.
I think that one of the main reasons why we don't see that play out more is because people are also smart. Mm-hmm. And so as we grow up and we learn how to interact with society, we realize that that level of malice isn't actually conducive to our own well-being.
Yeah.
And so it's the fact that like we're all on semi-equal playing fields and we have a system in place that reprimands anybody who does anything reprehensible, I guess. I think it's that system and that social structure that keeps us intact as a general rule. But I think people are inherently malicious. And I don't think that that's really even up for debate. Children like intentionally try to hurt each other before they learn that gets them hurt.
Yeah.
And so I think for the most part, people as a general rule get away with as much as they think they can get away with.
That's interesting. I don't think, because I know we've talked about this. It's been a while about whether humans are at their core malicious or good. That's really interesting. Because I know
there's also the notion that like if power corrupts, then absolute power would corrupt absolutely.
Exactly.
It's like a Superman quote, I think.
Yeah. But that's actually what I was getting at. So with that, I mean, I actually thought you'd have a different perspective on that. But because with that perspective, what do you think about just normal power? Do you think that having power over other people is corrupts?
As a general rule, I think yes. And so let's say, just so that we can like have a baseline of what we mean when we say normal power.
Yeah.
Let's see if we can't agree when you say normal power if you mean hegemonic power. So hegemonic power is a term that's generally used when assessing groups. I'm going to use it for an individual, so I'm going to stretch it a little bit. But a group has hegemonic power when, regardless of how big they are or how much money they have, they're able to impact change on the society around them.
Okay.
So if I were to say that an individual has hegemonic power, it's effectively saying that on some level, somehow, regardless of the means that they go about it, they're able to like impose their will on the people around them.
Yeah.
I think that would be a decent explanation of power because I think that works like the president of the United States has a large amount of hegemonic power in any room that he walks into.
Yep.
There's usually someone who's effectively the leader of a friends group who has hegemonic power over their friends. There's usually one person in a household who has the final say. That's hegemonic authority, right?
Yeah.
So I think that's a good scaling way to think of power. And even in looking at that, I think there's actually a fair argument to be said. The more hegemonic power you get, the more corrupt you become. And I think actually, so I don't think that I'm really well equipped to make a case for that, other than it's what I believe, and it loosely seems to be what is observed. That the more people are able to influence others, or at the very least, the more public their shortcomings become. So maybe there's a bias there. Maybe they were already corrupt, and maybe there's an argument for that. Maybe people don't seek hegemonic power unless they already are inherently corrupt individuals.
Yeah, right. And
Yeah, I don't know.
Oh yeah, because that's what basically I was getting at. Because like I'm gonna draw this from a couple. I mean, a couple of actually works of fiction that actually made me think about this and think about it more. The first thing that made me think about this was a book series called Steelheart,
Okay.
and it's by my favorite author Brandon Sanderson. It's more of a it's he usually writes like high epic fantasy, like really stuff that it makes is really that's hard for me to read. But this one is a lot more accessible. It's lower lower age range, and it examines and the premise is that some humans got superpowers all of a sudden, and all of them were turned evil. Every single one of them, without exception. And then it explores throughout the series about people who gain power, and as soon as they use their powers, that's when they start becoming corrupt and evil. And if they don't use their powers, they can start to fight the temptations. And I thought that was a very interesting way of depicting it, like in a fictional setting, like of something around, and it ended up being like you're never gonna read this series. It ended up being just because the thing that created the powers was corrupt, and so because of that, a lot of that corruption and evil was embedded within them. So whenever they used their power, that evil sprung forth. So that was like basically the baseline of it, right? But I thought it was a really interesting way of demonstrating, like in a way, like a part of human psychology. Of once you have power to do things, like once you, if you have the control, undeniable control over a country, and no one can physically stop you because you have three different impervious levels of defense, like what would you actually do? Like you all of a sudden you can do whatever you want and no one can physically hurt you. Like what would you do? And I think a lot of people's first response would go, "Oh, I would, kill all the evil people." You know? I would, some people especially be like, oh, everyone who has, all these billionaires, I'd take all their money, I'd redistribute their money, and make things, I take down evil, right? And then say, well, what happens when that big evil's done? There's still people who are still stealing and killing. There's still people like on the streets that are doing bad things. You're gonna kill them too, right? And then okay, well, what if you kill them? Then all of a sudden, someone who like looks wrong at someone else, right? Are they evil? Are they bad? Are you trying to? And that's also funny enough. You see that in Tron when you talk about creating the perfect system, and the people that the like the real like living beings that sprung forth from that system, he wiped out because they weren't perfect. They weren't coded. And I thought that was the first thing that really got me thinking about this, was about like what about humans is it that if we have unbelievable power and no one can stop us, like what is it, why does our mind immediately go to like not necessarily, I don't want to say death, like I don't want to say like killing, like it's not, it adds something more nuanced and I don't know the right word for it.
Correction.
Corruption, I guess so.
No, correction.
Oh, correction. Oh, yeah,
as soon as I have the ability to do so, I want to fix the world.
Yeah.
And I think that's what you're hinting at. And
yeah.
So one of the corollaries of that is you fix the world by getting rid of the bad things.
Yep.
And, well, you also become to recognize that there are people who are inherently bad people, and we should get rid of them.
And then also there's something really interesting about seeing about, and I'm gonna backtrack. I'm gonna relate this.
We're gonna get quote mined so bad from this episode.
I don't care. There's a Black Mirror episode. This will relate. Don't worry. There's a Black Mirror episode where these soldiers are wearing all these high tech stuff, right? And they're going in and killing these like terrible like monster things. Like they're just like they're like, this is the end. We need to rid this enemy. Have you seen this episode?
I haven't seen the show.
Oh, you haven't seen Black Mirror?
Mm-mm.
Oh, I actually think you would enjoy it.
Is it an anime?
No.
Oh, I'll still watch it.
It's a Netflix show.
Okay.
I can't believe you've never heard of it.
Mm-mm.
It's like it basically explores human interaction. I have an episode for you to start on. And it's not the first one.
Why shouldn't I start with the first one? That's
Because the
they
best.
wanted me to start one.
No, the best one is the because they're all separate. They're not.
Oh, okay.
It's not.
Okay.
It's not a consecutive series.
Okay.
They're basically. It's a question of what if, like with the one I'm gonna tell you is that what if you could rate every human being and their rating was publicly available. Like that's like, and then it's like, okay, let's explore that idea.
I mean, we kind of do that. That's.
I mean, well, exactly. But the thing is that in all of their episodes, they could be real. Like every single one of them could be real, and that's the scary part. But anyway, so like this, right? So the premise of this episode is that his tech breaks, his goggles break off, and then he sees that the monsters are just normal people. And then that was the whole. And then they were just trying, and they realized. Because the military realized that if you don't see people as people, you see them as monsters, you have no problem in killing them. And in fact, you're very motivated to kill them. Or as soon as you see them as people, you start having moral quandaries about it. And so relating it back to that, the idea of being a superhero, right? Being literally on an ivory tower, looking down upon people. As soon as some time starts passing, you immediately start separating yourself from them. And that separation is exactly the same thing. It's just over time and in a different method of separating yourself from people, and all of a sudden, the value of people starts disappearing.
Well, I'm gonna hit this one. This is a very interesting one. So when he was first conceptualized, Superman was like he was in a lot of ways very much like the archetype of what Captain America is,
right.
In that he was the American ideal, right? And so he like embodied all the morals and all of the like patriotism that we wanted Americans to have.
Yeah.
And he was literally an illegal alien.
Yeah.
Right? Which also during his conception was already a big issue. So then the question comes, well, why would you bring up somebody who the whole goal is to be like the symbolism of patriotism, who's not even an American, who's not even human?
Yeah.
And I honestly think one of the reasons is because people would not believe that a human being could be morally just.
That's interesting.
And so Superman is inherently one of his strongest qualities is he is uncorruptible. Right? And Batman's concern that always leads to the conflict every single time Batman and Superman have a conflict is what if Superman becomes corrupt?
Right.
But Superman is inherently uncorrupt.
That's fascinating because there's been a lot of like allegations about a lot of different things recently at the time of recording this. And one of them in particular is one comedian, he stays on this path of like he doesn't drink, he doesn't smoke, he doesn't like all these vices that is very typical of his industry. He does not partake in it. He's very open and honest about that. He's never, ever partaken in anything like this. Then some allegations came out about him doing some stuff that that shouldn't have done. And I don't know. I am not here to assign guilt because I don't know the story. But there was these other comedians talking about it. They're like, yeah, I didn't trust him. He was too clean. Like, you don't, if someone doesn't, like, I don't trust someone who won't drink and who won't smoke and who won't do drugs and things like that. So I don't trust someone like that. And I'm like, that's so, like, it should be the opposite, is you should not trust someone who does, I want to say immoral things.
I'll bet this is the real truth of it. I don't trust him because I don't believe him.
Yeah, exactly.
I can't trust the word that comes out of his mouth because I know he's lying.
Exactly.
I know he has a vice.
Right.
He's a human being.
Yeah.
Like,
exactly.
Like, we know that people are inherently messed
and
up.
apparently it's known, and I know the stand-up comedy world pretty well. It was also part of my job that I had for a little bit. It's a common consensus in the stand-up comedy world that like clean comedians are the worst people you're ever gonna meet. And then if you know them personally, they're just trash.
Interesting.
And obviously it's not always true. Like some people like Brian Regan, who I grew up with, he's well known as a very good and nice person, right? He's been doing comedy for 50 years now. and he's just well respected in the industry. So he's obviously an exception to the rule. But yeah, it's a very common talking point of comedians to go, yeah, no, he's a clean comedian. I don't want to be around him.
Interesting.
Yeah. And there's a couple different reasons for that, which I'm like, there's a lot of different points to that, but yeah, that's the interesting. That's fascinating. Is that that could be that's why Superman works so well as a character.
Hmm.
Is
And
because you
that's
believe that he's
also compare him
uncorruptible.
to Captain America.
Exactly. I
Cap-
hate Captain America because you're basically like,
Because
no, you don't
you have
trust
to
him.
have something right.
You,
There has to be something wrong with you,
yeah,
and you in a world where a man flies by throwing a hammer really hard.
yeah,
Captain America is the one that feels fake.
yeah.
Like
That's fascinating. And you know what I just realized? They never explored the dark side, like throughout the MCU. Because this is funny, we're back to the MCU again.
woohoo!
But throughout the
We did
MCU,
it.
the dark parts of Captain America that they portray is simply his rejection of authority. He doesn't
Well,
actually
it's
have
actually not even a full rejection of authority. Captain America still follows authority.
well,
And
no,
it's actually
the wrong
his,
authority. Yeah.
his dark side is like unwilling to bow to oppression,
Yes.
which
Yeah.
is an American ideal.
Yeah.
Like,
Which is really and which is funny
yeah.
because they never, and that's what I just realized is they never gave Captain America a fault other than not yielding.
Yeah.
Like I'm trying to think. Is that his like his fault? Like the conflict that arises with him is because he and Iron Man bash heads. That's why. That's
Right.
it.
But they bash heads because their archetypes are so
Yeah.
distinct. Like, Captain America believes in all of the like American ideals through and through, and he's unwavering on them.
Yeah.
Iron Man is much more loose with his beliefs overall.
Yeah.
Like, and is very much more along the lines of like, I do what I believe is right in the moment, and that doesn't mean I can justify it later.
Mm-hmm.
But in the moment, that's what made sense.
Right.
And Captain America hates that.
Yeah.
And it makes sense too, because it's almost like the if you've seen Hamilton, it's almost like that notion of no, I can't side with you because I don't know what you stand for.
Yeah. Exactly.
Right. And I think that's Captain America's view of Iron Man is I can't trust you. I don't know what you stand for.
Exactly.
And then Iron Man's view of Captain America is you're too rigid in your beliefs and the world has nuance.
Yeah.
I think that's the fight.
Yeah, it is. That's just I can't believe it. And there's rumors I just saw recently. There's a lot of talk about Captain America having something coming up, like he's gonna make a reappearance. I would guess
He's
maybe.
old now.
No, I guess maybe like a Disney Plus show or something like that. I would guess.
He's old now.
Well, I mean, obviously, he wouldn't be old.
Let him go. He's old.
Like maybe it.
I watched Endgame. He's old.
A time travel exists. Which I'm going to be really fascinated, by the way, with the new movies. Time travel exists now. Like
So,
how are you gonna like what new movie like how are you gonna have any new movies that do not use time travel?
they're gonna ignore it. They're gonna ignore.
They're just gonna ignore it, yeah. Or Tony's gonna like bury like.
I mean,
well,
if
he's
they
dead
don't,
now.
they're gonna ruin the MCU. So they better just
Yeah.
ignore it.
They're gonna like hide it. Oh, this is a secret we can't let anyone know. I don't know. That's just funny. But anyway, so like the second thing that made me think about power and abuse and corruption is the Amazon show The Boys. I think I've mentioned it to you before. It's based on a comic
Okay.
originally. It's not DC or Marvel. It's just its own little
Okay.
its own little comic thing. And it's basically about, a world superheroes exist. You're in America, superheroes exist, and guess what? There's a corporation that owns the superheroes. Basically, is that they recruit them and then they sign contracts with them, and now you are basically actors. Like it's basically like the new actors are superheroes, and they lease them out to cities as for protection, right? Already, like that's just a funny. This just made me laugh when I first saw it. I'm like, because of course that would happen, because superheroes are like the likelihood of them actually doing their own thing is small, whereas there's more because there's depending on how many superheroes per capita there are.
Well, the reality of that too is just like if superheroes the conflict in Captain America: Civil War. If superheroes do their own thing, we are going to kill them.
Yeah.
Or are they going to kill us because we're not going to stop trying to kill them?
True. Yeah.
So the only way to have any form of peace is by the government that they adhere to owning them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And like,
but it's basically
otherwise the government will keep trying to kill them.
Right. The funny thing with this is that superheroes aren't seen as inherently evil. It's just a lot of them are, and you don't know. Because they're basically like it's fast, and to me this is more of a metaphor of like the film industry. I think was like what they were kind of like was like an influence on them, and basically showcasing like, look, this person looked great. You see them on TV all the time. Like there's like see all these people, and they're just evil, like pure evil people, who kill and torture and just for fun. Like that's the kind of evil we're talking about. And then they pretend they put on an act altogether, but that's more of like a fun thing that made me think about it. But the real question is, I think, how do you think you would handle let's just start at like normal, let's say like power over a country. How do you think you would actually handle that?
Honestly, I don't think I'd ever be in that position. And because any form of like true like sovereign power, like I would reject that mantle.
You would, okay. You'd Washington it?
Yeah, I honestly, and that's just like, if you had asked me even a year ago, I don't know what my answer would have been, but I've learned enough in the last year about like governmental systems to like, I do not want to be in a situation where I am like the sovereign leader of any group of people.
Yeah.
So I would reject the mantle, and actually, if it was imposed upon me, then I would look at the founding fathers of this country and the founding fathers of France, and I would like create a republic. Like, no, I'm not gonna be the leader. Not happening.
Interesting.
And if you give me full authority to be the leader, I'll use that authority to make me not the leader.
Yeah. That is interesting, because I think I have a similar vein of where I know I would not be like, even just say like, even something like a governor, like even like local politics. I know I would not be. I know that it would immediately go to my head, and I immediately start thinking about what I could do, and then eventually I just either quit or get kicked out. And so I know it wouldn't last long, which makes me laugh a little bit. But I think that's what the reason why I ask.
I could end up being president. That would be much more likely than being a sovereign leader.
Yeah.
Just saying.
I guess I did. The problem with when it talks about power is that in the system we currently have, there's too many checks to actually have a real impact.
Exactly.
Yeah. Did I say the problem? I think I just said the problem with our system is that one person doesn't wield enough power. Oh, we're totally gonna get quote mined for this.
We are. This is gonna be the episode that ends both of our careers.
Luckily enough, we're recording the whole thing, so we can easily be. We just need to make this episode shorter than usual so people actually listen to it, and then we can actually they can see the whole thing. Okay, that was. I had some thoughts to go from here. I think I'm gonna save actually those for their own episode.
So we did it. We solved morality.
Well, no. So what I was thinking. Sorry, Devin. I'm not done yet. What I really wanted to like ponder, like at the end of the day, is analyzing how we react to power and how we react to having it. Because at the end of the day, like everyone responds to it differently. Some people outright reject it. Some people use and abuse it. Some people try their best to actually, actually perform well. But the funny thing is that no matter how you start out, I think I've seen. I mean, it's the quote you mentioned. Absolute power. Power corrupts. Absolute power corrupts. Absolutely. I don't know if that's Star Trek. I thought it was something else. But
no, I think it's Superman.
Oh, Superman. Sorry. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
I'm the one who's wrong. What a surprise! Is that? Yeah, I think that's true. I think that's how funny. Like how we kid ourselves about what we would do if we were in charge.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's just the funniest thing to me. People like, well, if I was you'd be worse. There's a high possibility you'd be worse, right, because you think you'd be better.
And there's I love the way that Jordan Peterson actually talks about that when he brings it up of if, like, first off, you're not that good.
Yeah.
You're like, as a sovereign leader, you're not that good. You're going to destroy everything. And if on some absurd chance you actually are that good, it'll never come to fruition because someone who's not is going to be close enough to kill you.
Yep.
Like,
yep.
And you won't see it coming because you're too good.
Yep. And that's a funny thing. Like, and that's that's a sad thing, is that also with did you ever watch those videos?
It's a paraphrase, not a quote, by the way.
yeah. Did you watch this? I thought I sent you the videos of the rules for rulers.
Hey, by the way, you just reminded me. You were supposed to tell me for your you were supposed to tell me at some point in this podcast what your weapon would be.
Devin, that was supposed to be my secrets uncovered.
I know.
Now I'm mad.
Shame on you.
Oh,
that'll be it. Let's make it an afterthought. Let's keep going.
Okay.
Just make it an afterthought.
Fine. Stay around for the afterthought. At the very least, I'm gonna pull that clip and I'm gonna put it on our YouTube channel. So if you don't want to, so you can watch us describing.
Just make it an
afterthought. Fine. I'm really mad that I did not write that down. I've been thinking about it all week.
Shame.
Now I lost my train of thought. I think, yeah.
Shame.
Oh, rules for rulers. Yeah, it's basically, it's almost impossible with almost any system that's set up to have a morally good person in control. Like, it's so, like, the possibility of that happening is so slim. Like, it's just because, like, the way things, so the rules for rulers, essentially the basics of it is, there's a lot more to it, and I don't have it all memorized. The basics of it is that if you're in control, you have to stay in control. In order to stay in control, if you're in a democracy, you have to keep your voters happy. That means giving them things. That means making them happy and making them vote for you again. If you're in a dictatorship, you don't care about the people. You care about your underlings. And all of a sudden, any money, and they call it the treasure, right? Treasure encompassing everything, that we hold as value, right? You have to give the treasure to those people. Because as soon as someone comes along that gives more treasure to those people, you're immediately out of office.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I would also point out, too, just as a response to that, of the, it's almost impossible to have a morally good leader of any system. It's almost impossible to find a morally good leader.
True.
Like, just like, what do you mean by morally good? That's a hard definition.
I would say better. I mean, I would say better than a leader. Like, I'd say at the baseline, better than, like, president-wise, better than a president that we've had. I don't know. Like, I don't know enough about history. This is where you got me, Devin. I don't know enough about history.
I mean, so like kind of my response to that, like, if you're saying that you're morally good if you're better than like Fidel Castro, that's a terrible standard. So
fine. Like, I don't, and I mean, to be honest, I don't. I would say when I think about, especially when it comes to leaders, when it comes to morally good, my first response is most people would say if they knew everything about that person, they would say, yeah, that's a good person. In general,
then I don't think that. So that's why it's impossible to find a morally good leader, because that person doesn't exist in the first place.
Right. Which is right, and well, I think the first step would be find a morally good person.
Right, and since you won't, will never be a morally good leader either.
Right.
Because there's no such thing as.
Which makes me mad when people complain about morality of whoever's in charge. I'm like,
well, that's an annoying thing too. Like, morality is actually a really hard conversation to have, especially if you don't impose a higher power. Because then it's like, it just becomes such an obnoxiously hard thing to define that it's like you're complaining about something that you don't even know what you want.
Yeah.
Like, and maybe rightly so to complain, but like, we don't know if you're right to complain because we don't know what you want.
Yeah.
It's a terrible position to be in.
True. True. Anyway, that's I'm gonna stop talking there.
Cool.
I think
we've solved morality.
We did not solve morality, but we talked about superheroes.
That's cool. Okay.
You want to kick us off? You want to finish us off with?
Yeah.
Your thing?
So yeah. So
you look excited about this. Okay.
I am. And, for those who watch the video on YouTube, I'm going to be sharing some visuals. For
Ooh.
those who don't, I'm going to do my very best to describe my feelings behind these things.
Okay.
And it could be a complete train wreck.
Okay.
But we're going to try.
Okay.
Because I had a conversation with my good friend Luke Maxwell. Maybe you guys have heard of him. Earlier this week. Maybe last weekend. And it was about he recommended something to me that was like American made, anime and styling.
Oh.
Really fun. And I don't even remember what the name of it is. It's like 4 letters.
Do you want me to, are you?
Yeah.
It's called Ruby.
It's called Ruby.
Yeah, Ruby. It's RWBY.
RWBY.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's started on YouTube. It's a YouTube show, animation show.
So I watched it, or I watched the trailers for it. I haven't
Right.
watched it, but in the middle of the trailers, I messaged him and I complained about the animation.
Yeah.
And then this spurred a conversation just about how picky I am with animation. I think picky's maybe the best word. But the truth of the matter is, there are some animes that I love simply because of their animation, and there's some animes that I have no idea if they're good or not because I can't deal with their animation. So as a general rule, the animation is the first comment I have. Either this is amazing or it's terrible. But it's a huge part of the experience to me. Like I deeply, deeply respect the art form, and I deeply appreciate good animation in animes. So I was thinking about it, and I put together a list of animes that are, I put together a list of animes that I like, and I put together a list of animes that I don't like, based on their animation, not based on the anime.
All right.
And I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to...
By the way, if you want to know how much I love Ruby, I finished the 7th season, the latest season last night, and whenever I see and what we're going to talk about the weapons, but whenever I see an action scene with a new character, I verbally go, "Ah, so cool!" That's how much I love that show.
When I share my screen, Luke,
Okay.
Are you gonna get that on recording? Is that
yes, I will.
work?
Yep.
Okay. So I'm gonna share my screen then. All right. So this numero uno.
Okay.
Right, this is by animation my favorite anime. Period. I love the animation. It's a beautiful art form. I wish the show was longer for the animation, knowing that the show ended in a way that I hated and that it should have ended when it ended. I wish it was longer so I could observe the world.
I thought you were going to say this is an example of an animation style that you hated.
It is absolutely amazing.
So what are we seeing here? Soul Eater.
So Soul Eater. So the top picture that I have on the screen that if you can't see, I'm sorry. It's just a picture of maybe the main characters. There's 2 main characters, and he might be the main character.
Yeah.
His name's Soul, so he's probably supposed to be the main character.
Mm-hmm.
Hard to tell when you watch the show.
Yeah.
And then the bottom picture is a picture of the sun in their world.
Oh, that's just the sun.
That's the sun in their world, yeah.
And it's a spiky... It looks like a Pokemon with a face.
So the interesting thing, though, is Soul looks relatively flat. He looks 2-dimensional.
Yeah.
The sun looks relatively 3-dimensional.
Yes.
The way that they crossed those 2 together is nothing short of mastery. And so the anime is, if you ever watched, this is actually great. I didn't think about this till just now. If you ever watched the Yu-Gi-Oh cartoon, Pegasus, the character Pegasus, he loved Toon cards, and he had Toon World and he had Toon cards, and this Soul Eater is like the Toon World, they did such a good job of bridging and so one of the things, if you just watch the trailer for the show, you see that as we move around in space, the characters are 3-dimensional when they need to be and 2-dimensional when they need to be. And the world around them has this really interesting art style where it's so just as an example, there's scenes where as we're scrolling through the scene, based on the movement of the camera angle, like the buildings bend around the camera. And
Okay.
so they just did amazing things with their art styling
Mm-hmm.
that because it's an anime, because you're like it's effectively like digital art, like you
Yeah.
can do this, and why wouldn't you?
Yeah.
Kind of an approach on what they were doing, and
Mm-hmm.
the real answer as to why wouldn't you most of the time is because one, it's hard, and because two, it's hard to keep cohesiveness when you do it.
Yeah.
And they did a masterful job of keeping cohesiveness. Like
Okay.
despite the fact that sometimes it's got this 3D feel, sometimes it's got this 2D feel, they made a good job of me feeling like I'm in the world.
Mm-hmm.
And despite that like issue, the characters always look right. So there's never like a disconnect of a character's drawing being somewhat jarring.
Okay.
And so they just and as far as an anime goes, it's so. But it
Really?
is the best artwork I've seen in anime. And
Huh.
I will watch it just for the art style.
Okay.
So that's my number one. That's my number one, my top good
Mm-hmm.
one. My number two on this list, and actually Soul Eater is absolutely number one. The rest of this list is not in a particular order.
Okay.
But the next one I have on the list is just Attack on Titan,
Yeah.
which everybody knows, so I don't feel like I
Yeah.
need to discuss that deeply. Attack on Titan did a very good job with a hyper realistic, like the Titans look hyper realistic and scary,
Mm-hmm.
and they made it compelling. Good job. Appreciate the animation. Not sure how I feel about the show. Haven't really watched it that closely. Love the
Oh, really?
animation. One Punch Man,
Oh, One Punch Man.
particularly in season one.
Really?
In
Okay.
season two, they don't do it as much. But so my top picture here,
Yeah.
if you're seeing it, it's a footprint stepping into a city, like giant
Mm-hmm.
footprint stepped on a city, and it looks like it's a real picture of a city,
Yeah.
and it probably was. And the fact that they incorporated that into an anime that also has the main character drawn like this half the time
Right. Very cartoony.
is right, extremely cartoony, and they do this where like they'll jump between like a shonen of like hyper detailed character who, and then they'll jump to like more of a like slice of life style anime where they draw him cartoony and they like
Yeah.
and they do that to make fun of animes.
Right.
But
So it
even in
is
this
a
picture,
parody of anime.
right? And even in this picture that I have of Saitama, he looks
Mhm.
cartoony. It's funny when they're making him joking, they make his head very round, and
Yeah.
when he's serious, his head's very angular, but it's still Saitama. It's
Mhm.
clearly Saitama. But he looks all cartoony, and the background still looks pretty realistic.
Yeah.
So like they did a really good job of building a world that's very, very realistic and very detailed.
That's actually that's actually really interesting. I think this picture represents maybe like what you really mean by Soul Eater, and I want to watch the trailer, just to like get to know what you mean. But
I'll
I think
send you the trailer, broski.
okay.
I can play the trailer. I'm gonna play the trailer. Nah,
Nope, we can't.
but
Nope.
I'll send you the trailer.
Yeah, we're gonna get copyright striked if we play a full trailer. Especially if there's music in there. But yeah, it's the foreground. He's in the foreground and he's very cartoony. The background looks very realistic, and they look like they belong together.
Yeah.
And I think that maybe has to do with some of the more muted colors on him. That has to do with, I don't know, like that's fascinating because normally it's like anyone who does any sort of graphic design knows if you drag one thing on top of another thing, like even just like like text on an image, it'll look out of place. And your job is to make it all come together.
Mm-hmm.
And that's really difficult to do. And then I'm proud of what I've done when it comes to like making image cohesiveness, and it's nowhere near what a professional graphic designer would actually be able to do. And so I know like the level of talent that it takes to do this. Like that's wow. Because that requires a lot of skill and thought. Like you can't do it on just creativity or just like math alone.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So One Punch Man making it to like a list based on its animation is kind of fun.
Yeah, right?
Because most people just like One Punch Man because it makes fun of anime.
Yeah.
But all right. So then my next one, I'm gonna make a rule on my next one that's just kind of why like what I appreciate about shonens.
Okay.
Shonens are basically like they have cornered the market for like combat based animes. Okay. So Naruto.
Oh, okay.
Naruto's a shonen. It's not my favorite anime, and I wouldn't tell you it's my favorite anime. But their animation, the reason I appreciate it isn't the same reason as everything else I've mentioned so far. It's not because like their art is really, really crisp. It's not because they do an amazing job with their characters or anything artistically. Their characters are relatively flat, which is something that generally bugs me.
Mm-hmm.
It's because they make intricate fight scenes that feel like there's actually movement happening.
Yeah.
And that's something that in general shonens are bad at.
Yeah.
Like,
Really?
a lot of fight scenes just feel flat. And it's hard to make fight scenes not feel flat in anime.
Huh.
And Naruto did a really good job. And actually, the picture I have here is Zabuza fighting Kakashi. And that fight, when Team 7 versus Kakashi, or Team 7 versus Zabuza, my bad. That fight is like the exemplary example in my mind of why Naruto did fight scenes good.
Oh, you have to send me that one too then.
I think it's actually like a several episode fight.
Oh, really? Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
That's honestly, that's why I love animation so much, is for action. Like, I will say this, and I will you can put this on record. Star Wars
on the book.
Star Wars is better as would be an amazing anime. Clone Wars, I don't like the animation style they went with. I hate. I like, and the funny thing is, that's the only instance I could actually say of me hating an animation style would be with the Clone Wars. The story and the characters are awesome and cool, but I can't get past the first like 3 episodes because I hate the way everything looks.
Interesting. I don't have. So I almost feel like if you ever watch Jimmy Neutron, like the animation style of Star Wars is Jimmy Neutron done better.
Yeah. But it's still. I mean, I don't watch. I was a kid when I watched Jimmy Neutron.
Jimmy Neutron's animation is actually, you look back at it now and you're like, it's
disturbing.
It's the thing of nightmares.
Yeah, it's really disturbing. There's this YouTuber talking about this, shows some clips of like, that's what I watched. Like, that's weird.
All right. I got one more on my good list.
All right, one more. Okay, one more on your good list.
One more on my good list.
But also, that's something I love about Ruby, is they have the best fight scenes I've ever seen in cinema. But go ahead.
But their animation is also so bad that it spurred this conversation. So and actually, that's really surprising to me that like you like Ruby and you don't like Clone Wars, considering how similar their animation is. Like,
no, they're not similar at all.
Clone Wars is Ruby's animation done professionally.
No.
Yes.
Not at all.
Yes.
Clone Wars is like, I describe it by saying it's like chandeliers. You know, it's like so many, like, it's it makes sense in my head. I guess by your playing expression does not make sense to you. It's just the way, like, just the image of it. Nothing looks real. Like, nothing even looks close to real, but they also don't look fake. It's like an uncanny valley. That's what it is. Clone Wars is a very odd,
just like
uncanny
the Clone Wars
valley.
movie. Just like the Clone Wars movie, where they did everything by CGI, so it doesn't look real.
Yeah,
but it doesn't look
the
fake.
animation movie, not the Attack of the Clones. Yeah, no, same thing, exact same thing. Yeah, no, I really hate that. Ruby is just a low budget like drawing, like it's much more.
It's
like,
not, because it's the same exact 3D style, just low budget, and it's that 3D style that makes things not fake and not real. But
it's not really that 3D. Like there's 3D.
It's incredibly 3D. I mean, just by the trailers.
Yeah. I don't know. Okay.
Because I've only watched the trailers.
Yeah, I know. I'm trying to think of the trailers now. I guess. Fine. Okay, yeah.
Yeah. And then so like another way that I've like described that, and it's the complaint with Jimmy Neutron's animation. It's the complaint with actually like the first Toy Story movie, because they got better after that.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like, imagine you created the characters out of Jello, and then you did like claymation. You did claymation, but with Jello characters.
Yeah, I get that.
All right, so this last one I have on my good list. This is a picture from Spirited Away.
That's what that is. I was trying to remember. I've actually seen this one.
So I'm gonna make a caveat here. Actually, Spirited Away is not the last one on my good list. Anything and Everything by Studio Ghibli.
Okay, obviously.
Their animation is just phenomenal.
Yeah.
Consistently. And I don't know, like, I don't even know how to say it except they they're unique. Like
Mm-hmm.
they create their own worlds that never existed before, and they do it by like melding together pre-existing ideas, both in their topics, but also in their art style.
Mm-hmm.
And so they do an interesting job of bridging that gap. And actually, this is a funny example because I had like Bleach is an example on my bad list, and Bleach
Okay.
has hollows, and Spirited Away has hollows, and they draw them and depict them the same way, but with a different artist.
That's
And
funny. Huh.
so, like Spirited Away just does, or Studio Ghibli just does really, really interesting things with their art that's
Mm-hmm.
keeps it unique. Um, and like it's also one where like there's scenes and there's characters in Spirited Away that I absolutely love the art of that character or of that scene. And then
Mm-hmm.
there's other elements in this movie where I'm like, I feel like you guys rushed this. Like,
Uh,
but overall, I'm thoroughly impressed with everything that Studio Ghibli does as an art, not
mm-hmm.
even as their stories, not even, just as the art.
Yeah.
All right, now I only have three on my bad list.
Okay.
One of them is Seven
Whoa.
Deadly Sins.
Oh, really?
Yes. Remember,
That's
this is based on animation.
I know.
So, one of my issues with Seven Deadly Sins as animation, and the picture I have here is Lord Escanor versus Estarossa, which is like, I think Luke, I made you watch this fight.
You No, you didn't make no, I watched Full Metal Alchemist, that fight.
Oh, I thought I had you watch this fight because this
No.
is
You
okay.
told me
Anyway,
about it. No, you told me about it. You
okay.
described it to me.
This is like probably the best known fight out of the series.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a perfect example of why I don't like the animation of the series because the fight is just obnoxiously flat. And the best way I could describe it is if you've ever watched the show He-Man,
Mm-hmm.
it feels like He-Man animation in a time where we should be past that.
Interesting. Okay. I
Like
know
they
of
just feel
I'm trying to
flat.
remember what He-Man I can't remember.
So that's
Um
that's my complaint. So that's
okay.
one thing that's gonna make me not like an animation is if it feels flat. And like so that melding together of like the 2D characters in the 3D world, when that's done appropriately, that makes
Right.
things that are very interesting. And if it's not tried and you end it with a flat animation, I'm probably not gonna like it.
Yeah.
Um, and so then my next one on my bad list is Bleach.
Okay.
And I have the caveat on my list on my notes that Bleach usually, because there's some exceptions to this,
Mm-hmm.
but as a general rule, Bleach sucks at fight scenes.
Huh.
Like it just like their fight scenes, generally speaking, they look like the animators just don't know how to do fight scenes, and so they're avoiding trying. Like
That's
every anime
sad.
talks
Yeah.
like they every anime has conversations in the middle of their fight scenes.
Yeah.
Bleach has like a swinging of a sword in the middle of its conversation. Like
Huh.
they flip the script and like they avoid fight scenes, and then when they do them, and the annoying thing is like they do really interesting things with their characters.
Mm-hmm.
So there's moments of real true interest that could be exciting that they then don't incorporate into a fight in a meaningful way.
Uh
And so it just makes for this really like you weren't far, but you made for a very unsatisfying fight.
yeah.
And they
And
do
that's
that in most of them.
And that's sad because the thing about the really cool thing about anime and I want to say cartoons in general, especially anime, is they have so much freedom in character expression, in story, and especially in fight scenes, because you can do whatever you want. You can defy physics easily, and it'll look great because it looks cool. You
Right.
know. And that's the sad thing is like when you don't do that, it's like you were able you had the tools available to you. Maybe just choose a different medium
Right.
if you don't
Right.
want to capitalize on that.
Right. And
Like
okay, so that's my thoughts on that one. My last one, this is funny. Naruto was in my list of good animation because of how they did fight scenes.
and
Naruto Shippuden is in my list of bad animation because of how they do fight scenes. And so I purposely picked this picture of Itachi and Sasuke when Itachi dies.
Mhm.
Spoiler alerts. Because I actually think that this is a beautiful picture.
Okay.
Like, I think this is incredibly well done. I really like it.
Mm-hmm.
The fight felt one-dimensional and flat.
Yeah.
Like, and so it's a big thing of like they just, and that's maybe even a better way to describe a lot of my complaints about shonen fight scenes is they feel one-dimensional.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I guess this is even maybe a more apt explanation of what the fight scenes feel like to me. And sometimes Shippuden does the issue where they're talking through a fight rather than fighting and narrating it.
Mm-hmm.
But then there's also this element of like fights that feel almost like a 2D scroller, like an arcade fighting
Yeah.
game. When we've way graduated past that,
Mm-hmm.
and so this fight between Itachi and Sasuke, it made both of those issues at different times, and then there's moments in the fight that they did well as well. So it's like
Alright.
it's a very interesting fight in that regard. That like there's moments that look amazing. Most of the fight looks terrible.
Yeah.
It feels very one-dimensional. They're talking more than they're fighting.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's a lot of like, there's moments that like, well, look at this. Like, yeah, that was cool. And then there's moments where it's like, that was supposed to be cool. Like, they built that up like crazy.
Yeah. And it just wasn't. Huh.
You know. So that's my good and bad list. And I'm just going to point this one out. Full Metal Alchemist. I don't feel very strongly about its animation at all, but I love the anime.
Yeah.
So there are examples of animes where
they have like
animation
normal.
isn't.
They're like
Yeah.
normal.
Yeah, so there are definitely examples of animes that I enjoy where I don't feel strongly about the animation.
Yeah.
This is one of them. Like, I have no complaints about their animation. I'm also not gonna like exemplify it as what anime can do.
Exactly.
It's capable of.
Right. Because there's a lot. I mean, I know. I would say. I guess. I mean, I'm trying to think of the ones I've actually watched. I don't think I have. I think Full Metal Alchemist is the only one I would consider like normal animation. Because the other one is Death Note, which I do not consider like normal.
Death Note almost made this list.
On which end?
So it was funny because I really thought through it. It was like, okay, as a slice of life anime, I don't have any issues with it. If it was an action anime, its animation would suck, but it's not. It's a slice of life anime, and it has really interesting scenes.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was like, it probably would have ended up on the good side.
Yeah, but I think
I was
a lot of it's
so iffy about it.
Yeah, a lot of it's supposed to be ugly though. Like it's like kind of just it's at least I haven't. It's been a while. I need to actually finish it because I never actually finished it. I got close to. But
it's a shame we don't know what happens after Elle dies.
I was telling my sisters about it because me and my sisters watch anime together at night. Yeah, I was telling them like, oh, we need to watch. No, or I mentioned Death Note. I was watching Death Note or something like that. I was like, yeah, and Devin told me, you gotta stop here.
Yeah, it's a shame there's only 25 episodes in the anime.
Yeah.
Elle dies and then it ends, and it would have been cool to know what happened after that, but we just don't know.
Yep, we don't know. That's too bad. That's really sad.
We can imagine.
Yeah, you know? I know.
It's up to us.
We can only imagine. I can only imagine what life would be like with you by my side. So I don't even know. I think we've overthought this thoroughly.
Yeah.
What do we do now?
We end the show?
We end the show?
Just today, not like the running of the show.
Oh, okay. I thought you were
like,
talking about like leaving the show. Like
no, just like the episode. Because I still don't think we've solved everything, and that's annoying.
But I think we solved everything, but fine. I guess we could film another episode next week.
Okay.
Sounds good.
See you next week. Maybe.
Maybe.
Yeah. And if you're still listening, what's wrong with you? We told you an hour and 24 minutes ago this was a private conversation. I
that's wow. That's really rude. And the fact that you've listened for that long too is just kind of impressive.
Yeah. Simultaneously mad and impressed. Like, how dare you?
Yeah.
How dare you?
I feel like that's a very like I have that emotion all the time. Being like, I'm mad, but how did you do that is impressive that you made me this mad. Should we do an afterthought?
Yeah, you had one.
I do have an afterthought.
Yeah, lay it on me.
Hey, Devin.
Look.
I want you to imagine something. Right? An electric guitar wielded by my powerful frame.
Okay.
It shoots out beam waves of sound, which can cause damage, right? The boom, right? Right? But then all of a sudden, oh no, my enemy gets closer. What do? Oh,
Wait. Time out. In my mind, I've imagined an electric guitar that is a V frame and it's red. Is that right?
No, it's not a V frame. Sorry.
Okay.
It's like a classic like electric guitar. You know, like looks like a guitar, but it's not a guitar. Do I need to describe an electric guitar?
Well,
just like what rock bands have.
Because electric guitars can look any way.
In any way.
I imagined a V frame. Like, yeah, you should probably actually describe what the electric guitar looks like.
Okay. It's an
only
electric guitar.
By the imagination
the
of the
bass has a guitar-like shape with some outlying little pokey things that accentuate the frame, right? So it's not like an extreme type of looking guitar, right?
What color is it?
I pictured it black and white.
Okay.
Also, just because that's a guitar I actually used to own was an electric guitar that was black and white.
Okay.
So that's why. So boom, right? Oh no, the enemy evades. It might do them a little damage, but they're getting close. What do? I grab the guitar by the hilt, and all of a sudden, the base of the guitar, boom, 2 blades pop out. I now have a battle axe.
Nice. Okay.
Yeah, I now have a battle axe. I'm right spinning it with ease because I'm just so strong. Right, swiping, fighting, boom, blocking, parrying. But then, boom, the opponent hits me. Boom, slides me back. Take out my guitar, and guess what? A little hole opens up at the base. You know where the 2 axe blades are, and all of a sudden I have a double gauge shotgun. Boom, boom. Flip it open, boom, pop back in 2 more shells, boom, flip it up, swirl it around, swing, hit him over the head, angle the shotgun, bam.
I think you meant double barrel shotgun.
What did I say?
Double gauged.
Yes. Thank you. Yes, a double barrel shotgun.
Nice. Okay. Cool. So
that's my weapon.
If you were in Ruby, that'd be your weapon.
Yes. I think so.
Okay.
I also thought my favorite, and that's the thing, so like that was
I thought you would have a yo-yo.
So okay, I thought about a ranged weapon because there's some really cool aspects. So like this one character, she has a it just looks like a blade, a sword, but then the bottom has a little hook, and she can swing out the bottom, and it's on a rope. But then the hook on the bottom has a gun on the back, so she swings out the rope. And then she fires the gun, and then so the rope spins around and can just slice through things and wrap people up. So it's basically like a controlled what's it called? Like a controlled like mace and chain almost. I guess it's like the closest thing I can think of. And then my other favorite character, as far as weapons go. And then there's one who is a side character who comes in once, but he has a staff, which if you look closely at the staff, you can see it's made up of 4 shotguns, 4 double barrel shotguns, right? All like in line. And if you look close, you can see it. And then he breaks it apart, and all of a sudden there's 2 nunchucks. All right, and this goes boom, 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 and then as he's flipping the nunchucks, he's firing off the shotguns and reloading the shotguns as he's flipping them around and attacking with the nunchucks. That for me, and his fighting style is pretty cool too, because he's there's humans, and then they call faunus, and those are basically like part human, part animals, and then so he's a monkey, where he's like he's part monkey, so his fighting style is very fast and aggressive and like agile, and it's so cool. But then they introduced a character who only appeared once, and I'm so mad she only appeared once, because she has these 2 huge scythes, like without the like basically Grim Reaper. So she's called the Grim Reaper. So she has 2 like Grim Reaper scythes without the long handles, and at the bottom there's these 2 gems, and so she throws. So like she's like fighting this huge giant eagle, right? Like like massive bird. Puts one of the sides into his back, throws the other one at a wall, and then they pull each other together. And then so there's so many cool fighting things that she does with that, by like throwing one away, having it wrap around, pulling the other one closer to each other, throwing one at the ceiling, pulling yourself up, dislodging it, then coming right back down at you. Like, It's so cool. And that's why, I mean, and honestly, if it weren't for the weapons, I probably would never watch the show. Because the characters and the story is fine. The characters are great, but the fight, the action is the best animated action I've ever seen. Like an Avatar, I think before that, I would say The Last Airbender was probably my favorite before that, and this easily displaces it. It's just so fast. Like everything that happens in the action is so quick, and so aggressive, and it's just so much fun. Yeah, the funny thing about the yo-yo is that I think it could work. Like when I think about like what it could work is that if I had like multiple like heads, like as like gun as like a bullet. Like as like a what do you call that? When you have a bunch of bullets, on your vest. Like a sling of bullets, a bullet sling. Like if you had a bunch of yo-yo heads, like as a bullet, as a sling, right? Like total metal. And then what happened is you have your yo-yo, boom. It has like whatever blades on it, right? You can slice whatever, do that kind of stuff with. But you can also throw it at someone and it can explode. And the wire itself is electrified. I think that could be really cool, and then you could just reload right off your yo-yo vest. That could be cool.
Something,
but also create the right. You'd also need the right character. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yep.
I heard. I don't
Yo-yo
know.
of death.
I honestly don't believe it, but I heard the yo-yo is an adaptation from a hunting tool.
I heard that too. I do not remember how reputable that story was.
I don't buy it.
I don't really buy it either because it'd have to be a really long rope.
So the way that I had it explained to me was that, and I mean I've definitely seen yo-yos that weren't attached to a rope anyway, but the original yo-yo wasn't attached to a rope. It was a hunting tool, and the rope just allows it to gain inertia and spin, so it would just be throwing the projectile.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Huh. I don't know. It seems like there's will be a lot easier ways to hunt than using a yo-yo.
Yeah, like a gun. You have those always.
I mean, of technologies that existed back then.
I mean, the options of hunting were you could have a bow and arrow, which requires you to be an expert marksman and relatively close.
Yeah.
Or a spear, which requires you to be much closer and risk your own life.
Yeah.
Those are about it. So
True.
In that era, if there was a yo-yo weapon, and if you could learn to be more accurate with that, or if it could go further than a bow, I'm not saying either of those are true, but if either of those are true, then it's a viable weapon.
I guess, yeah. If we could do the same amount of damage.
Mm-hmm. And if neither of those are true, and I don't think either of those are true, then it's a silly idea.
Yeah. You ever think about like someone inventing like some like very like basic things like a bow, an arrow? Like it just is. It seems. It just is so funny to me to be like the first bow and arrow to ever exist. Be like, look what I can do! I can launch this stick really far.
That person was brilliant.
Yeah, well, they were brilliant. They're probably burned at the stake for being possessed. Use magic to make that thing fly. Could you imagine? That's a funny. That's a funny like.
Oh, boomerangs! Boomerangs were weapons.
Boomerangs! Yeah.
I know that one for a fact.
Yeah.
So if boomerang is a weapon, then why couldn't a yo-yo be a weapon?
I don't know, dude. Anything could be a weapon. Jason Bourne can make anything a weapon. So if he could do it.
Wait, how did Jason Bourne escape? Well, we left a paperclip on the table. What were you thinking?
Yeah. There's a sketch where it's like the HR department. Oh yeah, Studio C. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, watch out, he got pocket lint. Dude, Studio C,
He's like the modern day MacGyver. MacGyver used things that make sense. Jason Bourne uses them as well.
I think I've watched one Jason Bourne movie. I'm not into that kind of like that. What?
I said I have not.
Yeah. It's just that kind of like those kinds of action movies are just so boring. Like even like John Wick, I just couldn't sit through. I was just so bored by it. Same thing with like Mission Impossible. I mean, the first 13 minutes of the new Mission Impossible movie made me angry about how terrible it was. But yeah, I really haven't watched a lot of those just because I don't know. I also action movies in general I don't usually care for unless they're either done really well or they're comedy. Then they're not supposed to be, good action movies.
Then you get things like Kingsman that are both.
Yeah, they're both. They're great movies, great action movies, and
meant to make fun of action movies.
And yeah, exactly. I was like, what's the third thing? You think we should end this? Remember?
I think we should have ended this a long time ago.
Like, what, 3 months ago? Oh, I did. Do we have an outro? Have we decided? We're supposed to have like a fancy outro, right? For Afterthought.
We're supposed to have the official outro for the Afterthought.
Yeah. So, thank you for listening to Afterthought. This has been a production by Dr. Minister Devin Tracy and just normal Luke Maxwell. You can find us
hardly normal.
That's what I get them to think, and then that's how I get them. That you can find more info at overthinkingpodcast.com. And send us a message with your thoughts, puzzles, conundrums, arguments, why you hate our show at overthinkingpodcastshow@gmail.com.
Bye.
Bye.